Welcome to Cryptid Cyber, where we are bringing you security beyond belief. Today, we have kind of a really special episode because we want to get to something that is right at the crux of a lot of individuals who are kind of looking at jumping into maybe some new realms for their careers, or they're questioning a lot of different things. And so really we want to get to the core of this and say, is cybersecurity for you? So come with us as we look at that very question today and figure out, is cybersecurity something that you would like to do, something that is interesting to you, and overall, is it something that you think is best for you? So come along with us today. To begin this video, we really need to start asking ourselves one question. Why do you want to be in cybersecurity? I've asked this question to a lot of individuals that I've come across in a lot of my dealings as well as some of my interactions. And to be honest, it usually kind of culminates in three different answers that I hear a lot of. The first one being money. And that's understandable. We all need to work to make a living, and, cybersecurity tends to be able to pay pretty darn well. So with that being said, it does have that appeal to it. Now, I would argue that that's not all the best reason to jump into a career, because if money's the only thing you're looking at, that can lead to some problems. But the next one is going to be prestige. A lot of individuals think, oh man, if I'm jumping into the cybersecurity world, there's a lot of money to be made, but also, I want to play the hero role. I want to be able to do these things that get a lot of recognition, a lot of notoriety, and be able to see all these things. And in reality, you might see a little bit of this in some of the publications and some of the things going on, but in all reality, I don't think it's nearly as prestigious as some individuals would lead you to believe. And then the last one being general curiosity. A lot of individuals have kind of said, I want to just look into it and see, is this something that I can do? I want to know what is out there, what cutting edge materials and things. And that's absolutely a fantastic place to be to the beginning. But I'll be honest, I don't believe that that is something that is going to feed your career for the entirety of a career. Curiosity is fantastic to get you in the door, but that is a problem at its core if that's the only thing feeding you. So let's go over a few more items here. Let's look at things in a little bit of a different light now, because I really don't want this to be something of me just giving you information and feeding it to you. I want you to really internally reflect as you watch this video and really see if this is something that you want. So with that being said, let's kind of look at things and dissect it in a really simple terms of pros and cons as we start looking at the cybersecurity realm for your career. All right, as we begin the pros here, I really want to start out with this one because this is something that a lot of individuals can actually get behind and understand a little bit. Now, I want you to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt, but understand something here. Cybersecurity is never boring. Now, take that as you will, because like I said, a little bit of grain of salt in that statement is going to help you understand a little bit, but you never have a day that is identical to a previous day in the cybersecurity realm. And for a lot of individuals who don't enjoy monotony and they want to be able to see new things, try new things, do new things, that's an incredible, incredible incentive to get into the career. Now, there is a double edge to that sword, so I don't want to go too in depth this, as I believe this to be a pro, but if you're reading in between the lines there, you can understand that yes, there are some components that you're never doing the same thing twice. And for some individuals, maybe that's not your cup of tea. But for many individuals who enjoy a challenge, that is a fantastic pro to the cybersecurity field. The next pro is actually something that I really think people need to understand as well. That is, it is full of continuous learning. Once again, there could be a double-edged side to this if you are an individual who does not want to be on a continuous path of learning. But many individuals that I come across as we are looking at things from a cybersecurity lens, they really like to learn consistently and constantly. They're liking to challenge themselves with new things. And this is a realm where not only are you going to be able to do that, but you are absolutely going to need to do it to remain viable and functional within this realm. Now, that is something that, once again, it takes a lot of effort, and it's absolutely something that can be a little bit, I guess, exhausting in a certain light if you don't gauge it accordingly and you don't make sure that you are doing exactly what you need to be doing for yourself as a cybersecurity individual. But most individuals that I come across, they actually get really excited to hear this. They get excited to understand what are the new things coming out, what are the new technologies, what's the cutting edge. These are those things that get us excited, and we're able to constantly engage and constantly move forward with what is actually happening around us. So really a fantastic pro when we look at it in that light. The next pro here is actually a fantastic one, and one that really is really easy for people that I come into contact with to understand. And many of you that are watching this right now probably are already seeing this if you are kind of dipping your toes into the cybersecurity landscape. And that is that of the community. We are not the largest community in the world. However, you're going to be really hard pressed to find a more enigmatic, really fun, loving community out there, that we enjoy each other's company. We love to challenge ourselves with each other. We love to share ideas. We love to share information. We like to game together. We like to be able to just go out and have a drink together. We like to be able to meet up at conferences all over the world. I have individuals that I still communicate with weekly on the other side of the world, and it's an absolutely incredible community. Not as large as you might think. Start going to DEF CON, go to St. Con, one of my favorite conferences, Cactus Con. You've got so many different conferences that are out there, and you start seeing the same faces. So really you start realizing that the community is quite tight-knit, and it's absolutely fantastic to be part of that group. And honestly, it's one of those areas where you can really come at it with a idea of, I want to learn, I want to know more, I want to do things, and this community just gathers around you, bolsters you up, and helps you do more of what you want to do. So absolutely a pro in that column, something that I wish we could highlight more to individuals because it is such a huge benefit. All right, I saved this pro for last because I think it is actually the most important one to really highlight here, and that is the pro that the work that you're doing actually matters here. You are doing things that is making people's lives better, making people's lives safer, making sure that you're doing everything in your power to make a better life for others out there. So much of what we do these days is digital, whether it be, regarding education, finances, communication, gaming. So many different things are out there in the digital landscape. And what you're doing actually matters to the everyday lives of individuals out there. That's a huge pro when you think about it. To be able to actually have your career revolve around bettering people's lives, that's a huge benefit, and something that we need to understand, that at the end of the day, are we getting paid? Absolutely. But we're also making a difference in people's lives, and that really needs to be driven home. The work that you're doing actually matters to individuals at the end of the day. And that right there should be the gold star in the pro column as we discuss these things. All right, now it's time for us to look at the not so good column, the cons column. These are things that I am going to try and make sure that I'm very transparent and I'm very honest with individuals here watching this video. I don't want this to scare anyone off, but I'm not going to lie to anyone out there. I want to make sure people are aware so they're making informed decisions on, is cybersecurity the right direction for you to go in your career? So let's get started with maybe some of the areas that you haven't heard as much about, but you really need to consider when you're thinking, is cybersecurity right for me as a professional? The first con is something that is really kind of hard to understand, especially as you're just starting out, and that's that the cybersecurity realm is huge, absolutely monumental. And really, guys, this is something I can't stress enough. This is something that I really want people to understand fully, because you need to understand that cybersecurity touches everything these days. There are individuals out there that say, well, cybersecurity is an IT thing. It's not. It's not. We use IT resources as a means to meet our goals, but overall, it is so much bigger than an IT thing. Think about everything that you have in a digital format. You have medical records, you have professional records, you have just personal records, things that you're doing. How much do you do on your phone every day, on a computer every day, on a smart vehicle? And yes, there are vehicles out there that far more than you're aware, they're way connected to the internet, far more than you're probably aware of. All of these different things, the scope is huge. I can't even begin to tell you how large of a scope that is. And that's something that really gives a lot of autonomy in terms of which direction you want to go. So that is a positive light to that. But keep in mind here, getting into this field, there's not a simple core concept that you can do. You can't go out there and just get a Security Plus certification and say, I know everything I need to know. That is absolutely dipping your baby toe into the water that is cybersecurity. So you need to understand that the scope of this is absolutely massive. And it's something that, drinking from the fire hose is putting it lightly for your first couple of years. It's something that really, highlights just how much there is. And you need to be aware of that. The next con is something that really I want to drive home to a lot of individuals because it's one of the things that shocks a lot of individuals that first get into the cybersecurity realm. And that's the fact that attackers do not, nor will they ever work a regular 9 to 5. Some attackers and some hackers are going to be individuals who are saying, you know what, it's Christmas night and I'm bored. I'm going to go see if I can hack into something. And if you're the cybersecurity professional on the other side, guess what? You're the individual that's getting paged when someone's trying to hack your system on Christmas night. You're the individual who's getting paid when these hackers, who most of them are night owls, are going to be hitting your systems at 1 a.m., 2 a.m. You're going to be woken up. These are the realities of this. I have a good friend who just left the military, just retired from the military and got out, and we had a good conversation about this. He indicated to me that the reality is cybersecurity is about as close as you're going to get to the overall culture and understanding of a military life, meaning you're trying to defend at all times. You're on call for reactive functions at all times. You're basically always needing to be ready for when the next attack comes, or when you're not defending against an attack, you're preparing for it. And that really needs to be highlighted in the idea that some people are going to say, I want a lot of money, I want things, and I want a regular 9 to 5. If you want the 9 to 5 consistently, cybersecurity may not be your thing. You have to understand that these things happen any and all times of the day, and most of the time, a lot of times at night. So keep that in mind if that's something that is potentially a deal breaker for you. The next con is something that is really expanding as we do see more and more understanding and oversight in our digital worlds. And that's the idea that there's a lot of regulation, and the scope of regulation and making sure things are done is huge. So you do have to not only do the best you can, but you need to start making sure that you have an understanding of what needs to be done from a regulatory or a legal standpoint. Are you doing everything that is absolutely necessary for your company? If you work in the healthcare area, you've got PHI, PII. If you work in the financial area, you've got the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, Sarbanes-Oxley. You've got a lot of different things there, and all of these have their own specific rules and regulations that you need to understand. It's not simply enough to say, I'm securing things from this standpoint. Some of these have higher and stricter regulations and different things that you're going to actually need to prove evidence that you're doing things in the best way possible, and that you can provide due diligence evidence, basically showing that, yes, I am doing exactly what I need to be doing in order to keep this information safe. And because this is such a large field, it's something you really want to make sure that you're aware of. It's a lot. It's an absolute massive amount as well, because not only are you defending, not only are you making sure you're doing what's best for your company as well as yourself, but you're also needing to provide evidence showing that what you're doing basically applies to the rules that they're setting up for you there. So keep that in mind as well. The next potential con is something that is absolutely great as we're starting to see in the world, but also for you as an individual might be a potential con, and that is that competition is pretty dang heavy. Now, as anyone who may be looking and seeing in the cybersecurity realm, there's a need for cybersecurity individuals, especially as we're seeing the boomer generation actually starting to retire. The baby boomer generation is starting to leave the field as they're hitting retirement ages. Yes, we need more individuals, but if you're looking for that high paying, job and that career to start off, those aren't going to be as bountiful because they're looking for the more seasoned professionals and things. Take a look on LinkedIn, take a look on Indeed, take a look on any of those job search areas, and you're going to start seeing that, yeah, they have some really good openings that pay really well. But if you start scanning down, you're going to see that they're looking for very specific certifications, knowledge, how many years of experience you have. The competition is pretty heavy out there. So make sure that you're aware that you have to compete in this field to be able to do those kind of jobs that you probably want to have, as well as to get the pay that you can do. Is it absolutely possible? Yes, totally possible. But you need to make sure that you're aware that you will have to continuously compete for this. It's not I get a simple certification or a degree and I'm done. There's a lot of continuing education and knowledge that does culminate around that in order to have those. So competition can be stiff, but it's totally doable. All right, for the last con here, it's something that really needs to be said, and you may have heard it, but I want to be as transparent and point blank as I can. The burnout and the stress in the cybersecurity field is just massive. It's terrifyingly real. Burnout and everything with it's absolutely a real thing, and it's going to happen to everyone in the field. Everyone. There's just no doubt about that. You're looking at things from the large scope that I mentioned earlier, with evolving threats, evolving technologies that change on a daily basis. There are things like I mentioned as well, there is no set 9 to 5 timeline here. You're looking at things that are evolving constantly, happening at any hour of the day, as well as the fact that if you do get to the point in time for being the cybersecurity expert that you want to be, many times people are going to come looking for you to have the answers to what happens when an attack is taking place, or how to defend against it, or how to adapt to evolving technologies. The stress and the burnout is very real. Don't get me wrong, it's incredibly rewarding for those individuals that can and want to do it. However, it's something that a lot of individuals don't understand fully. And that's why some studies are indicating as many as 25% of individuals within their first 3 years in cybersecurity actually end up leaving the cybersecurity realm altogether. It's just far too stressful for them to actually adapt to and actually want to continue to do it. So keep that in mind. That's a very real issue, and it's something that we need to look at finding ways to alleviate. But at the end of the day, there's such a demand right now that it's going to be a very real thing for anyone getting into this profession for the next several years. So be aware, it's not a matter of if, but when you get burned out. And do you have a culture and a company that you're working for that is able to make sure that you're taking care of yourself in a healthy way when that burnout does happen? Because it will. All right, at this point in time, if you're still watching the video, let's kind of shift a little bit now that we've looked at some of the pros and cons and see what the overall, atmosphere of the cybersecurity realm is going to look like. Is it something that you're still wanting to do? What are the opportunities and things out there for you as an individual who wants to learn and continue to evolve on the cybersecurity path? All right. So the first question I usually get, because I do have an economics background as well, is individuals will ask me, what am I looking at when it comes to cybersecurity? Are there opportunities out there? Am I going to be looking at getting laid off in the next, 10, 15, 20 years? AI is so disruptive. All these things are happening. My answer to them, and I can say this with a lot of certainty, is it's one of the most secure areas in the overall job market into the 2030s and probably the 2040s. It's something that absolutely has a massive and huge beneficial realm for individuals wanting to stay employed, wanting to make sure that they can continue on this path, as well as make a very beneficial career for themselves. So the good news there is, yes, cybersecurity and everything is going to be around for the long haul. And all these evolving technologies are actually strengthening that overall foundation, not actually taking away from it. Are we going to be utilizing AIs and things? Absolutely. But the AIs and the evolving technologies, they're actually expanding the realm of what we need to make sure is secure and safe for everyone going forward into the future. The next item I want to bring up is that of upskilling. Upskilling is something that's absolutely necessary in this realm. And it's really something that I think this realm in particular with cybersecurity has a lot of avenues and opportunities for individuals to go prove themselves. And it's something that you can actually attach to yourself as an individual and as a professional, rather than having it attached to a specific role that you had. Going through this, a lot of the certifications and knowledge that you can gain out there are things like the CISSP, the CISM, Security Plus, Security X. On the privacy side, you have the CIPM, you have the AIGP, you have a lot of the upcoming new ISACA AI certifications that are expanding the realm of regulation with AI, knowledge, and security. You have a lot of different things in all areas. If you want to get into the more management side, you have project management ideas and things that you can get those certifications, those educations, those knowledges, and they're actually going to stick with you. That's on the certification side. There's a more formal side where you can go and get cybersecurity degrees that are massively beneficial. Many of these degrees are actually incorporating some of the certifications that I talked about into their overall curriculum, which really is an amazing gold star, because then you start hitting the market saying, I actually have understanding and knowledge of things. And that's a fantastic thing for you, because you don't tie those benefits to a specific role that you once had. You're tying those to yourself as an individual, because you know what? You're going to get a lot of opportunities. You don't want to be stuck somewhere, especially if you are working in an area that potentially isn't taking care of their people as well as others. So you want to be able to attach those to yourself as a professional, and it does give you that mobility and that ability to be able to do everything you want to do in the safest way possible for you. This last portion is something that I really kind of want to segue from that last statement we made there. There's an honest truth here. Not every company is going to value your peace of mind, your mental well-being, as well as your overall functionality as others will. There are some companies out there that are going to say, we give you a pretty decent salary, therefore we own you, and we want you to be able to do anything and everything for us at a moment's notice. Now, with that being said, do they have a right to expect you to make sure their systems are secure? Absolutely. That's what you're being paid for. With that being said, however, you need to understand that some cultures are a little bit more toxic in the cybersecurity realm than others. I've seen it firsthand. I've seen and worked for companies that really don't put the well-being and that work-life balance for the individual up front and center. They really could care less. It's about their overall bottom dollar. On the other side, I've worked for companies that have absolutely put that first. Those are exactly what they're worried about. They want you to be a fantastic cyber professional. However, they are also wanting to make sure that you get time, relaxation, understanding, mental health, and well-being. So make sure that when you are making a selection for you as a professional, you're doing what's best for you. And that is a pretty large scope. Only you understand exactly what's best for you. But I will be absolutely transparent here. The best thing for you is usually going to be, hey, I can live with a little less money for a lot more work-life balance. The other way, I've seen it both ways. One will burn you out, and before you know it, you might be absolutely resenting and hating this industry if you get to actually end up being a part of that toxic culture that I mentioned earlier. Make sure that you're doing your due diligence and doing what's right for you, because that's what's most important. All right, I hope that some of this information that I gave you today was helpful for you. Hopefully it gave you some meat to kind of chew on in terms of, is this the right career field for me? I really hope it is. I really hope some of you are looking at this and getting excited. You're getting really, really, happy about the overall atmosphere that we're looking at. You're looking at things and saying, this sounds challenging, this sounds exciting, this sounds like something not only do I want to do, but I'm capable of it. That's what we need. I can guarantee you there's a massive need in this realm. With that being said, I want to make sure that you're not doing it for the wrong reasons that we mentioned. This is not an easy street. There is no such thing as an easy street in the cybersecurity realm. There's no such thing as saying, I can get one certification and I'm good to go. Absolutely not. It's a lot of dedication. It's a lot of understanding. It's a lot of adaptation. A lot of that really is at the core of everything we're doing here. So keep that in mind. But I hope that this really did get you excited and thinking a little bit more about, is this right for me? If so, please make sure that you're doing everything you can to educate yourself to understand. Watch my videos, watch many other individuals' videos out there. There are so many good individuals out there who are actually giving you and feeding you information that'll make sure that you do become the cybersecurity professional that we need in this modern world. It's absolutely necessary. And if you find that this is something you want to do, then I really hope that you can understand, this is what I'm capable of, this is what I want to do, and I'm really excited to welcome you into the fold. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for today's video. Please like and subscribe if you like this. I'm going to be pushing out videos as much as I can with information that hopefully is beneficial to all of you. Really hope that this is great. I'm going to continue to help feed your knowledge and understanding. If you have it, please, reach out to me if anyone needs any clarifications or understandings. Other than that, have a great one, and we'll see you next time on Cryptid Cyber, where we're bringing you security beyond belief. Have a good one.